You're listening to Audiology. Support this channel by becoming a member and be sure to submit your requests for topics in the comments below. Federalist No. 5, penned by John Jay and titled The Same Subject Continued, Concerning Dangers from Foreign Force and Influence, continues the discussion on the necessity of a political union for the protection against international threats. This essay, which is the fifth in the series known as the Federalist Papers, was published in the Independent Journal on November 10, 1787, using the pseudonym Publius, a common alias for all authors of the Federalist Papers. It marks Jay's final argument in a series of 4 essays that advocate for the United States to unite for their safety and prosperity. In this paper, Jay delves into the potential pitfalls of the states forming separate regional alliances or confederacies, especially concerning how these divisions could negatively impact foreign relations. He suggests that such confederacies might lead to jealousy or cautiousness among themselves, while possibly fostering stronger bonds with foreign nations. Jay fears this could result in the northern part of the United States overpowering the southern part, sparking internal conflict. By contrasting this with the idea of a unified national government, Jay argues that political union would merge the strengths and align the interests of the states, thus avoiding internal strife and presenting a united front to the outside world. The ideas Jay explored in Federalist No. 5, particularly about the dangers of division and the strength found in unity, were seen in the events leading up to and during the American Civil War, which pitted the northern states against the southern states in a deadly conflict. Jay starts his argument with a reference to Queen Anne's letter to the Scottish Parliament, where she advocated for the union of Britain. He draws a parallel between the unified kingdoms of Great Britain and a hypothetical scenario where American states form separate confederacies. Jay warns that these confederacies would likely end up competing with each other, suggesting that the northern United States could emerge as a dominant power, which would stir envy and attempts to limit its growth by others. He expresses concern that conflicts between these American confederacies would hold them back from becoming a global power. Jay is skeptical about the possibility of these confederacies forming effective defense agreements among themselves. By comparing these potential American confederacies to pre-unification Great Britain and Spain, when they were independent entities with their own national interests, he highlights how separate interests could lead to differing foreign policies and alliances with European countries. Jay concludes by cautioning that such divisions and external alliances could leave the door open for foreign nations to exert influence, drawing a parallel to how the Roman Empire expanded through what he describes as pretended alliances. Federalist No. 5 is a piece written by John Jay, who, like the other authors of the Federalist Papers, used the pseudonym Publius when publishing these works. These essays were written to explain the Constitution of the United States to the public and convince New Yorkers to support its ratification. The first time people saw Federalist No. 5 was in the Independent Journal on November 10, 1787. It was then published in the Daily Advertiser and the New York Packet on the following 2 days, November 12th and November 13th, respectively. This essay marked John Jay's final contribution out of 4 pieces advocating for a political union as a means to shield the United States from foreign threats. It picks up where Federalist No. 4 left off, making the case that without a united political front, individual states wouldn't be able to ensure their own safety. In Federalist No. 5, Jay shared his concerns about the idea of setting up regional confederacies in place of a single national government. He believed that if the states were divided into separate confederacies, they would end up competing and even conflicting with one another. He emphasized that this disunity could lead to the states falling under foreign influences. Jay made a strong case for a united nation, explaining that a single national government would be more powerful and unified, with all the states working together towards common goals and benefiting from greater resources and military might than any individual confederacy could achieve on its own. During that period, American politics were heavily influenced by sectionalism, with clear divisions between the northern and southern parts of the country. These regions had different economic bases, with the north focusing on trade and commerce, and the south relying on agriculture. Jay pointed out that these differences could lead to disputes among the states, especially as they might pursue alliances with different European nations, leading to further conflicts. Jay, in Federalist No. 5, contrasted his earlier optimism in Federalist No. 2, where he suggested Americans were naturally bound by shared interests and ideals. He argued that common interests and ideals were not enough to keep the country united without a strong central government. Furthermore, Jay and others in the Federalist Papers considered jealousy and envy as major threats. In Federalist No. 5, Jay speculated that if confederacies were formed, one might become dominant, leading to diplomatic tensions and efforts to undermine each other, making peaceful and cooperative regional relations unlikely. He was also concerned about the potential for distrust and the constant threat of war between neighboring confederacies. Jay used historical examples to support his arguments against confederacies and in favor of a united nation. He referred to the unification of England, Scotland, and Wales, as well as the Iberian kingdoms, to illustrate how countries with similar interests and geographical proximity benefit from being a single nation. He saw the unification of Britain as a precedent for the United States. Jay also drew parallels with ancient times, suggesting that a confederacy system could lead to conflicts similar to those experienced by smaller nations and the Roman Empire, highlighting the dangers of expansionist desires undermining republican values. Jay did not contribute another piece to the Federalist Papers until his last one, Federalist No. 64. The idea that America's unity relied on having a national government was touched upon again in Federalist Numbers 11 and 22. Jay's worry about conflicts over borders turned out to be justified when the United States ended up in disputes with Upper Canada during the War of 1812 and with Mexico during the Mexican-American War. The kind of division between the northern and southern United States that Jay talked about became a major issue in American politics for generations. This divide almost led to a military showdown during the nullification crisis, as South Carolina considered nullifying the 1828 Tariff of Abominations, believing it favored northern interests over their own. The ongoing tension between the North and South finally sparked the American Civil War in 1861. Fast forward to the 21st century, the landscape has significantly changed due to economic globalization and modern warfare, altering the context in which Jay and Queen Anne once argued for unification for economic and military safety. Thanks for watching. Share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more content.